Hello everyone, we are from Group 6 and we will discuss about the crime and delinquency. Our group's members are Amelia Nur Aisyah, Chamita Okta, Desinta Dewi, Glenn Hanaya, Putri Angelika, and Tiara Kusuma. This is our outline presentation and we divided into 7 main topics which are definition of crimes, types of crimes, who are the criminals, criminal justice system, perspective, future prospect, and Indonesian case.
When we heard about a crime, things that may come to our mind might be murder, homicide, robbery, assault, and frankly, we are not far from how the book defined what a criminal act is if we think about it that way. By definition, crime is violation of criminal law and or doing an illegal activity, and those criminal activity is punishable by law. The tendency to commit a crime is named delinquency. Although there are statistics and exact definition of a crime, defining a crime requires understanding on how the whole chain is related. We need to know what are types of crime. We must not overlook the circumstances of the criminal, for example, like where they live, their financial capability, their family background, as well as the offenses they make and how the law handles it. How society responds to a crime as for how they define their view is also important. In the past, people relate that crime is the result of biological makeup of the criminal, but in fact, this is not add up. It is not related, or if it has anything to do with crime, it only contributes a little. The view on criminals shifted to a more psychological approach. Crime is often associated with trauma or other mental incapability of the criminal. However, this doesn't invalidate the felony they did, even though some uses the alibi of mental illness to reduce their sentence. But that is a talk for another day. As for today, we are focusing on how the crime developed in our society. And in this presentation, we are going to deliver our view on which one is the difficult topic for us.
There are 6 types of crime. The first one is the violent and the property crime. Violent crime cause the victim physically, for example, murder, assault, robbery, and rape, while the property crime cause the victim economically, such as burglary, larceny, and shoplifting. The second one is the organized crime and the globalized crime. Organized crime, or called a syndicate, is a group of criminals who coordinate their illegal activity for profit. When this syndicate merged and integrated to the worldwide network, it is called as globalized crime. The third one is the cybercrime. It is a crime that involves a computer and network. For example, a hacker who steal and sell data illegally. The fourth one is the white-collar crime. It is a crime that is committed by people in position of responsibility during their course of their job. For example, the public corruption and health care fraud and money laundering. The fifth one is the victimless crime. It is a crime where the victims are willing participants in the crime, for example, the gambling, drug violence, and prostitution. The last but not the least is the juvenile delinquency. It is a crime that is done by the young person who has committed a crime or has violated a juvenile code.
I'm going to explain about the most difficult part of the presentation along with the who are the criminals. So we want to emphasize that there is no exact patterns of criminality because there is actually some bias happens in society, and we're gonna discuss it further based on these 4 categories, which is gender, socioeconomic status, races, and age. The first one is by gender. Data by FBI on 2012 conclude that about 81% of people that are arrested due to violent crimes and about 62% of people that are arrested due to property crimes were male. Usually for females, they only involve in prostitutions and being runaways. So, in conclusion, male has higher rates of involvement in mostly all kind of crimes. Based on socioeconomic status, official crime statistics show that lower class people are more likely to commit crimes and more likely to be arrested. In addition, lower class people are more likely to commit highly visible and violent crimes such as homicide and assault that are actually more frequently reported to the police, whereas some hidden crimes such as embezzlement and fraud may be more common among the middle class. This is why people tend to see that lower class commits more crime than middle class. For races, African American account for 29% of all arrests for property crimes and 38% of all arrests for violent crimes. African American tends to be arrested for robbery, murder, and gambling. Usually for wise people, they only violate the liquor law and driving under the influence of alcohol law. So this actually might happen due to some reason. We know that African American is lower in socioeconomic standing, so they are less likely to be involved with hidden crime. And we know that some racism is still going on in for African Americans people in America, so they may be more likely to be closely watched than white people by law enforcement agencies. So based on age, another data from FBI on 2012 show that people between ages of 10 and 24 account for 40% of all arrests for violent offenses and 48% of all arrests for property offenses. Young people's higher rates of criminal conduct may be due to opportunity and physical capability. So we know that crime is actually a young people's game.
Hi, welcome to this section. I am Desinta. We will explain about the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system can be divided into four main elements, which are the police, the court, the prisons, and other institutions who have the task in control crime in society. Then, what is their goals? In general, their goals are to prevent people from committing crimes, to provide justice for society against people who have violated important societal rules and norms, and to rehabilitate those who have committed such violation. Next, I will explain briefly about their role and evaluate the effectiveness of each element. The first element is police. It is the first and the most crucial link in the system. The role of the police is to arrest the suspect of crime. However, we find that this element is not 100% effective to deal with all crimes due to some reasons such as police choose not to pursue some of reported cases, realizing the little chance to solve it. Another reason is the exercise of discretion, not only influenced by judgment, but also by subtle social factors. The second element is court. This element has a role to evaluating guilt or innocence by using an adversary model. About its effectiveness, court consists of several parts and one of them is prosecuting attorney. Prosecuting attorney have the task to determine which cases will be pursued and with how much vigor. This person usually a political figure which elected, and of course they have awareness about how they achieve this position, which sometimes make them tend to put side on a certain group in their favor. The third element is the prison. Prison have a role to rehabilitate the inmates, and how effective this element is. Firstly, I will tell you that currently the United States imprison more people compared to the data since 1975, which result in overcrowding prison. Overcrowding prison is dangerous and result in ineffectiveness because it increase unrest among inmates and make the prison officers become more difficult to manage the prison. The next one is other institution. Actually, there is many institution in criminal justice system. I will take mass media as one of the example. The role of mass media is to portray the picture of crime to the society. And how effective it is? The statistics suggest mass media is more effective than police in solving crime. However, it often presents a distorted image of crime.
Hello everyone, my name is Glenn Hanaya and in this occasion I'm going to explain to you the perspective on the case. There are three psychological perspectives on the crime. There are functionalist, conflict and the interactionist. And let's start. First one, we have the functionalist perspective. Functionalists believe that much criminal activity derives from the social and economic condition of specific societies. Changes in one part bring about changes in other seemingly unrelated parts. Therefore, we have the conclusion that if functionalist view is being concluded, crime happens because of the condition forcing the perpetrator doing crime. Certain social trends and changes that are found in affluent industrial societies have increased the opportunity from committing certain kind of crime, particularly burglary, larceny, and theft. Next, we have the conflict perspective. The conflict theorists believe that the crime happens most likely from the less powerful group, for example, is the young generation, poor, racial, or minority. From the conflict perspective, the legal and criminal justice system are geared to benefit the dominant groups in society. One of the reasons that this part of society does criminal is because they believe that the criminal justice only happens to the majority or dominance. Generally, it is the powerful who establish the legislation or means the real rule defining what activities will be considered as criminal and who decide what the penalties will be for those crimes. Next, we have the interactionist perspective. The interactionist approaches do not dispute the sources of crime pointed to by the functionalists and conflict views. But the interactionists see these views as incomplete because they do not explain how a person becomes a criminal or why one person responds to anomie through crime, and another does not. By the way, anomie means inconsistencies and contradiction in the social system contribute to many forms of crime. Another interactionist approach to understanding crime and delinquency is labeling theory, which means shifting attention away from individual transgressor and toward the way that others react to the deviant.
Okay, now I will explain about the future prospect. So the main function of future prospect is to help relieve the crime problems and evaluate effectiveness. It consists of 8 activities such as social reform, legalization of some crimes, better law enforcement, etc. However, I will not explain all of this due to the time limitation. So, first is social reform. It is an attempt to attack the social and structural conditions that have created much, although not all, of our crime problems. So, the solution aims to change the social condition which caused the crime in the very beginning problem. What I mean is that many crimes occur due to poverty and economic inequality. If we can handle this problem, the possibility of further problems can be reduced. One of the example is like government and private sector programs create new jobs and provide job training to those without adequate job skill. Second is legalization of some crimes. So actually, we may legalize the victimless problems such as gambling, prostitution, and some drug violation. It will make the criminal justice system deal and focus with controlling behavior that threatens the public order, not with regulating people's morality. However, we also must remember that legalize some problems doesn't mean that we support those problems. We just want the criminal justice handle the more serious and dangerous crime. Third is alternative to prison. Based on the data in Sullivan's book, although the prison population has increased, the crime rate has decreased only slightly. This means that the imprisoning more people and even for longer period of time doesn't mean significantly reducing the crime problem. In addition, prison expansion drains funds from social programs, meaning that imprisonment should only be used if necessary for public safety or if they prove to have deterrent value. So the example of alternative to prison are putting people on probation under the intensive supervision, using house arrest with monitoring by electronic bracelet or RFID, and placing criminals in drug treatment programs.
So next, today we will discuss about one of the trending crime in Indonesia, which is a case of rape that is committed by a member of the higher class group. Chronology of the case. PU as the victim and AT as assaulter were known to be dating for 9 months. PU said that she has been kidnapped by AT and even being raped by him. AT forced PU into human trafficking through social media, and PU found to be infected by STD, sexual transmitted disease, through human trafficking. Based on PU's Zoom result, her family reported this case to the police. AT wants to marry PU in the hope that he will get a lighter punishment. However, until now, the final decision from the court has not been made yet.
We have learned the three perspectives on how to view a crime. This case, we agree that we can look at it from the conflict perspective, because if we review it a little bit, the conflict perspective tend to focus on criminal behavior that occurs on one less powerful group in the society. For example, the young, the poor, and the non-white or the non-dominant race is being disadvantaged. In this case, the perpetrator is of a higher level group in society, and using the power that he owned, he tried to get away with his crime of non-consensual abusive sex by trying to marry the abused. Moreover, the victim, when the time the crime happened, is still a minor by age of 15. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening, and we hope we didn't bore you with all of our blabbering. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to ask us or Miss Nadia for that regards. And we Group 6 signing out. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.